Well, let's take it right from the top here and talk about somebody who is brand new to fasting. What's a gentle approach for them to begin to, start the practice?
It would be really easy to write a fasting book. And it goes like this. Step one, don't eat for a while. Step two, here's a bunch of science from PubMed that says it's good for you. And this is kind of the template for fasting. But there's a lot between those things. And I didn't want to write that book at all because it's already been written. They're actually really good books on the why of fasting. And there's enough of that in here that you see that it's a benefit. But okay, you're that first person and you're saying, okay, I know I'm not supposed to eat, except they never talk about what you're not supposed to eat. The real definition of fasting is going without. And you can choose what you go without. If you're on the keto diet, you're fasting from carbs. If you're on a vegan diet for some non health reason, then you might be doing it for health reasons. It just doesn't work. But you can be a vegan and you're saying, okay, I'm fasting from animal foods. And you say, I'm not going to have alcohol. You're fasting from alcohol. So there's many types of fasts, even things like, cold therapy. I'm going to fast from being warm for a little while to make myself stronger. Like there's just all sorts of things. Every one of those, the commonality is the body thinks you'll die if you take a cold shower. And it tells you that's pain, run away. But then you do it for 3 days, like, oh, I feel better. And then the body thinks you'll die if you don't eat one of the 6 meals a day you have to eat so you don't go into starvation mode. So the way you get started with fasting is just recognize that the body is going to send you a false signal, right? And there's something called hunger, which most people don't experience regularly. And there's something called cravings, which most people experience regularly. And so what's going to happen is you'll get a message and you might even say to yourself, wow, I'm starving right now. It takes 2 or 3 months to starve. That is the absolute real reality. But it feels like you're starving right now. So, one approach, and the approach that's most often visualized for fasting, is hey, you're just going to have to man up and just suck it up and walk it off and just kind of ignore that. There's just one problem. It takes willpower and energy to do that right at a time where you're doing a practice that reduces the available energy for you. So to rely on willpower when you just turn the power knob down is kind of a bad strategy. You might win some of the time, but the rest of the time, the donut sitting there at 10 a.m. is going to win. And then you're going to go, God, why am I so weak? Why did I do that? Now, I'm saying this from experience being a 300-pound person who swore I was going to eat the cookie. And there's this inner dialogue that goes through, and you convince yourself, you know what? It's a good idea to have just half the cookie. And like there's some reason, and as soon as you eat it, you're like, God, why did I do that? So the first thing for someone who's brand new to fasting, okay, here's what you're going to do. Have dinner a little bit earlier than normal. You'll sleep better anyway. Don't have any snacks after dinner. And let's say you can do that 3 or 4 hours before bedtime. You just fasted for 4 hours. You sleep for, let's say, 7, 8 hours. You got 12 hours of fasting. That's the very entry level, right? It wasn't that hard. But now let's say, okay, I'm going to make it until lunchtime. So there's another 4 hours. You just did a 16-hour fast if you just wait till lunch. But the odds are that morning, if you have weight to lose like I did, or even if you don't have weight to lose, but your metabolism isn't that healthy, what do you do? And in Fast This Way, I present 3 fasting hacks, one of which has never been written about in the world of fasting. And it comes from not a purist point of view that says you can only have water during a fast. It comes from what are the benefits of fasting, what stops the benefits, and what are the things I want to feel while I'm fasting. And what I want to feel while I'm fasting is no thoughts about hunger. And I want to feel no lack of energy. And I still want all the benefits of fasting. So how do you create that endpoint? So the cost of fasting is very low in terms of your energy, but the benefits are as high or nearly as high as if you just did water only and just decided you were going to suck it up. So it's that approach that works for everyone. And suddenly like, wait, you mean I saved time on breakfast? I saved money on breakfast. I didn't suffer as a result. I think I can do this. And so the first one is, okay, have dinner a little early. And so you can get the fast in and still have normal meal times at noon and at dinner. The other 3 big fasting hacks in the book. The first one is have a cup of black coffee in the morning. And the reason for this is really fascinating. It turns out there's 2 hunger hormones that control way more of your thought process than you think. And one of them is called ghrelin. Ghrelin's the hunger hormone. It turns on hunger and desire for food. And the one that makes you feel full and sated is CCK, or cholecystokinin. And if you can bump your ketone levels up just a little bit, magically, and there are studies that show this. This is way less than full-on keto mode, but just a little bump in ketones will turn down ghrelin and turn up CCK. So the voice in your head screaming at you to eat the muffin or whatever, it just shuts up. Okay. And that is liberating. The reason coffee works is that coffee has the ability to double ketone production. This is the amount of caffeine in 2 small cups of coffee, so it doesn't take a lot. Like, medium or a large coffee is gonna do just fine. And it's also shown that caffeine is a mild appetite suppressant. So now you've got more energy because you had caffeine. And coffee, by the way, is shown in so many studies to be good for you. Like, Google the name of your favorite disease in coffee and look at the science. Like, it's the best superfood there is. And people say it's addictive. I don't know. If there was something you did every day and when you stop doing it, you feel bad, you'd be addicted, right? I'm talking about exercise. So, in fact, coffee is as important as exercise in my book. So, and if you don't like coffee, you can use tea, but you just need to get something like matcha, like a strong tea. And when you do that, it's going to suppress that appetite. It's going to give you energy. For beginning fasters, that oftentimes isn't enough. And then you go to the second fasting hack, one I'm very well known for, and I'm not here to sell this. Many people have tried Bulletproof coffee, but it works during a fast. And I've been writing about this for 10 years. People have bought about 500,000 copies of my books. People have lost more than 1 million pounds on the Bulletproof diet. At this point, it is very safe to say that this works. I've also talked to several experts in autophagy, this idea of when you fast, your body breaks down old, weak cells and waste products and gets rid of them. Drinking Bulletproof coffee with only specific fats in it, no protein, no carbs of any form, it allows your body to stay in a fasting mode because your insulin doesn't change and because your protein digestion doesn't get turned on. So what you do is you take a little bit of butter. It can be a lot if you're starving or you're really big, but it only needs to be a teaspoon. And you take some C8 MCT oil. The Bulletproof brand is Brain Octane. I'm the guy who made MCT oil famous. And you blend that in there. And several things happen with Bulletproof coffee. One is when you blend the butter into the coffee itself, it changes the structure of the water in the coffee. This is not like quantum crystal structure. This is University of Washington research by Gerald Pollack. I wrote a blank check, or not a blank check, but a check without a specific protocol in mind. Said, here's $50,000, discover something about water. And Gerald went out and he said, well, I know that water in the body changes. The body actually, when you drink a cup of water, it changes by heating up water when it's near a cell membrane. Cell membranes are little droplets of fat. And once the water changes, and when I say changes, you can see it on a microscope. This is not magic water. This is, oh, look, there's a little blurry edge there. What's that? It's called exclusion zone water. Well, he found that droplets of butterfat in water create the largest exclusion zone he's ever seen. So when you blend it, and you have to blend your Bulletproof coffee, and it's already heated, you're changing the structure of the water. And this matters during fasting because normally when you drink a cup of water, you have to heat the water up, which means burning some energy. And then you can use the water to fold proteins and to make more energy. But since you've already structured the water, you drink it, the body's like, oh, great, I'll just go straight to work on fast burning. I don't have to do that on fat burning. I don't have to do that first heating step. So you don't get cold and you don't have a dip in energy. That's why the Tibetans drink their yak butter tea, which was the inspiration for Bulletproof coffee. We didn't know this. This is new science, hasn't even been published yet. And I saw the preprint of the publication from Dr. Pollock a couple of years after I made the donation to the university. So that's a part of it. But then the MCT oil, it raises, at least the C8 MCT, it raises ketones 4 times more than coconut oil or the cheapest, most abundant MCT oil. So the type of MCT you get really matters because the C12 or lauric acid, that doesn't do anything special different than corn oil for raising ketones. And coconut oil, if you have a tablespoon of that, it's the same as fasting for 8 hours. But if you have the C8 MCT, you get 4 times more ketones. So what you've done now in that little cup of coffee that was creamy and delicious, you didn't damage your fast. You gave yourself water you can immediately use to generate ATP and burn more fat. And you gave yourself ketones, which trains your cells to become fat burning machines. And if you do this on a regular basis, all of the cells in your body are like, oh, I can always burn fat, or I can burn carbohydrates or protein or whatever. But it's a very different thing, and it's pretty cool.
So let me just jump in here real quick, Dave. So you're saying for somebody who's a total newbie, you said a few different things here. You said cutting dinner, stopping eating after dinner, and maybe eating a little bit earlier, and then going to bed.
Yep.
Number 2, having coffee, and then number 3 is having the bulletproof coffee. So for the newbie, by what you're explaining here, it sounds like the bulletproof coffee is going to be the easiest way to begin fasting. So do what you said in step 1, eat a little earlier, don't eat in the morning, have a bulletproof coffee, and we got to get to step 3 though. Talk about what the third aspect is there.
So if you just do those two, most people, they sail through a fast and the most magic thing happens. 10 a.m. comes around, 10:30, when everyone is having their morning snack and going to the vending machine or, the pastries and whatever. You look at it, and instead of doing what I would always do, which is, okay, I'm just going to take a deep breath. Maybe I'll have some beef jerky. I'm going to look away. You just look at it like, I don't want it. the freedom of just not desiring junk food is really big the first time you feel it. I know that Bulletproof Coffee does that just from hundreds of thousands of people. And then the final thing, which is new to the world of fasting and really belongs here, is called prebiotic fiber. And I wrote about that in Superhuman, the book that you haven't read, because getting soluble fiber that you can't digest, but that your good gut bacteria eat, it is shown in hundreds of studies to make you live longer. And it also causes you to grow a lot more species of good gut bacteria. So when bacteria eat prebiotic fiber, they make short chain fatty acids that are ketogenic. So what that means is you put a scoop or two of prebiotic fiber in, and now you have a drink that has no digestible carbohydrates. So it doesn't raise your blood sugar at all. It doesn't have any protein, so it's not causing your liver to start making enzymes for digestion. Those enzymes can go to fixing your body. And soluble fiber like that, or prebiotic fiber, it dramatically lowers hunger. So if you put that in there, there is no one on earth with that combination. You drink that, you're going to be hungry afterwards. So now all of a sudden, like, wait a minute, I get the benefits of fasting and I just don't care about food. And the first day you do this, here's the benefit that is amazing. I found a study in Fast This Way that shows that for the average person, this doesn't mean the average obese person, it's just the average person, 15% of the thoughts in their head every day are about what's for my next meal. When you turn down ghrelin and you turn up CCK, you get 15% of the thoughts in your head back. Because when noon comes around and all your colleagues get up to go to lunch, or the kids come and pester you, or whatever the deal is now that you're probably working from home, um, you look, oh, I guess I could eat. Okay. Those are words I have never said in my life when I was obese, because it was like, okay, I got 15 more minutes and then it's taco time. And like, you're really focused on it. So you get that focus back, right? So those are the big 3 fasting hacks from Fast This Way. And there's a lot about the mental and cognitive and the different things for men and women. There's a chapter for women. But if you just get started with that, a slightly earlier dinner, and if you fail on that, that's okay. Just wake up, replace breakfast with either black coffee, bulletproof coffee with soluble fiber or prebiotic fiber. The brand that I make is called Inner Fuel for Bulletproof. You don't have to buy any of my bulletproof stuff. It just works better because I designed it that way. So I'm not here to sell you. Will not change my life if every listener buys bulletproof or doesn't. I just made it because I thought it needed to be made and that it matters. Um, the primary ingredients in the soluble prebiotic fiber are basically sap from trees that feed the good guys in your gut. There's acacia gum, there's guar gum that's hydrolyzed, there's larter-benogalactin and other ingredients like that. But I looked at the most studied ones and I put them together. And all that's, bulletproof inner fuel. Bulletproof brain octane is the C8 oil, and the bulletproof coffee beans don't have toxins in them. And I will warn you, if you drink a cup of cheap black coffee, even if it's from a major chain, in the US, we don't have any laws about the mold toxin level in coffee. So when it's illegal to sell coffee in China, Japan, or Europe, they will send it to the US and we'll drink it. So if you drink a cup of coffee and then you get a severe sugar craving, you have to pee, but your bladder's not full, and you feel like you want to punch someone, it wasn't the coffee. It was the stuff that grew on the coffee while it was being processed. And if that happens, some of the supplements I talk about that you can take during a fast may help you. But drinking coffee that makes you hungry is a bad idea. So if you notice that, switch to a different coffee.